Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Online Biology Tutorials. In this live of today, I will be reading chapter 9 Life Processes in Animals taken from the Curiosity Book of Science. So in case if you are interested in hearing the audio of first 8 chapters, you can visit the playlist to find the videos. I hope the screen is clear to everybody. So without further ado, let's get started with the reading of Life Processes in Animals from the Curiosity Book of Science Class 7, suggested by CBSE Board. In the Grade 6 Science textbook Curiosity, chapter Living Creatures Exploring Their Characteristics, we learned about processes essential for survival of living beings like nutrition, respiration, excretion, and reproduction. These are collectively called life processes. In this chapter, we will learn about life processes such as nutrition and respiration in detail. Observe your surroundings and notice what animals eat. Animals eat different types of food. Bees, sunbirds suck the nectar of flowers, while infants of humans and many other animals feed on their mother's milk. Snakes like pythons swallow the animals they prey upon. Some aquatic animals filter tiny food particles floating nearby and feed upon them. Animals, including humans, obtain energy from food, which enables them to carry out various life processes. Animals consume food that contains complex components such as carbohydrates, protein, and fat. These complex food components have to be broken down into simpler forms before the body can use them. But how does this process happen? Breaking down of complex food components into simpler form occurs in a long tube called the alimentary canal. This process starts in the mouth and ends at the anus. As food moves through this canal, digestive juices secreted at different parts break it down into simpler forms. This simpler form of food is absorbed by different parts of our alimentary canal and transported to various parts of our body to carry out various functions. 9.1 Nutrition in Animals. How do the complex food components get broken down into simpler forms and used by the body in various animals? Is this process the same in all animals or does it vary? Let us first try to understand this process in humans. 9.1.1 Digestion in human beings. Let us trace the journey of food inside our body as it passes through different parts of the alimentary canal. Beginning with the mouth cavity, the journey of the food you eat begins when it enters your mouth. Your teeth break down food you eat into smaller pieces by the process of crushing and chewing. This process of initial breakdown of food into fine pieces is called mechanical digestion. Think about your favorite food. Does your mouth feel watery? This happens because of more saliva that gets released when you recall your favorite food. What do you think is the role of saliva in your mouth? What do you feel when you eat other types of food such as chapati? Let us find out. Take a small piece of chapati or a bite sized portion of boiled rice and chew it properly for 30 to 60 seconds. At first, the chapati or rice has its usual taste, but as you continue chewing, you do you notice a change in taste? The food begins to taste sweet. Have you ever wondered why this happens? Chapati or rice contains starch, which is a type of carbohydrate. Our saliva contains a digestive juice that breaks down starch into sugar. This explains why starchy food like chapati tastes sweet when you chew it for a long time. Saliva helps to break down components of food into simpler ones. Science and society. A healthy mouth requires good oral hygiene. We should brush our teeth and clean our tongue twice a day and rinse our mouth with water after each meal to prevent tooth decay and bad smell in the mouth. Find out the ways our elders were maintaining oral hygiene. Let us investigate. Take two test tubes and label them as A and B. Take 1 teaspoon of boiled rice in test tube A and take a teaspoon of boiled rice after chewing in for about 30 to 60 seconds in test tube B. Add 3 to 4 ml of water in both the test tubes. Note the initial color of the rice water mixture in table 9.1. Add 3 to 4 drops of iodine solution into each test tube with the help of a dropper. Mix the content of each test tube separately and then you have to observe again. Did you observe that the color of the boiled rice turned blue back in test tube A, while in test tube B, chewed boiled rice either did not change color or turned only a very light blue black color? What causes the change of color in test tube A? In grade 6, we learned that iodine gives a blue black color when it reacts with starch. In test tube A, the appearance of blue black color indicates the presence of starch. In test tube B, which contains stewed boiled rice, if there is no change in color, it indicates that the starch is no longer present. If there is only a slight change in color, it indicates that starch is present only in very small amount. It has been broken down into simple sugars by the action of saliva. If the color still appears in test tube B, what changes would you make in the activity to explore it further? Would the color change if chewing time is increased? Try to find out by repeating the activity. Now we know that saliva secretion in the mouth helps break down starch into sugars. This process of breaking complex food components into simpler forms in the body is called digestion. Food is partially digested in the mouth. Let us learn how this partially digested food gets further digested through the alimentary canal. Food pipe esophagus, a passage from the mouth to the stomach. So here in the figure 9.2, movement of the food in the food pipe has been shown to you, and this is known as peristalsis. When you chew your food, your saliva not only helps in digesting the starch but also moistens it, making it soft and easy to swallow. Your tongue helps in mixing chewed food with saliva and pushing the softened food into the long, flexible tube called the food pipe or esophagus. But how does the food moves down? The walls of the food pipe gently contracts and relax in a wave-like motion to push the food down into the stomach. This movement takes place throughout the alimentary canal and pushes the food forward. Stomach. In the stomach, the walls contract and relax to churn the food. The churned food is then mixed with the secretion from the inner lining of the stomach. The secretion from stomach contains digestive juice, acid, and mucus. The digestive juice of the stomach breaks down proteins present in the food into simpler components. The acid not only helps break down proteins but also kills many harmful bacteria. The mucus protects the stomach lining from the acid, preventing damage. In the stomach, the food is partially digested and transported into a semi liquid mass, preparing it for the next stage of digestion. Fascinating facts. How did scientists learn about digestion in the human body? The discovery of how the stomach works happened by chance. In 1822, a man named Alexis Saint Martin was accidentally shot in the stomach. He was treated by the doctor William Beaumont. However, this wound never fully healed, leaving a small permanent hole. This opening allowed Dr. Beaumont to observe digestion in the stomach as it happened. He conducted experiments on how different foods were broken down and studied how emotions affect digestion. Small intestine. After its journey through the stomach, the partially digested food moves into the small intestine. Look at figure 9.4, means this one. It is a sketch of stretched out alimentary canal. Guess how long it is. You will be surprised that although it is called small intestine, it is almost 6 meters long, almost twice the height of your classroom. You will be surprised to know that the small intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal. The small intestine receives digestive secretions from three sources: the inner lining of the small intestine itself, and two more structures associated with the alimentary canal, the liver and the pancreas. The liver secretes bile, which is mildly basic in nature. Recall the neutralization reaction in chapter Exploring Substances. Acidic, basic, and neutral. Bile neutralizes acids present in the food, moving down from the stomach, breaks down fats into tiny droplets, making its digestion easier. The pancreas secretes pancreatic juice, which is also basic in nature and helps neutralize acids present in the food. Additionally, pancreatic juice also breaks down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The digestive juice secreted by the wall of the small intestine further breaks down fats, proteins, and partially digested carbohydrates into simpler forms. The digested nutrients pass on from the small intestine into the blood present in blood vessels found in the walls of the small intestine. This process is called absorption of nutrients. How are these nutrients absorbed from the small intestine? The inner lining of the small intestine is thin and has thousands of finger like projections that increase the surface area for efficient nutrient absorption. These finger like projections allow the digested nutrients to pass into the blood, which carries them to different parts of the body. These nutrients provide energy, support growth, repair, and help the body function properly. Science and society. Celiac disease is a condition in which the body reacts to gluten, a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. This reaction damages the inner lining of the small intestine where nutrients are absorbed. As a result, the intestine cannot function properly. The only way to manage celiac disease is to avoid foods that contain gluten. Millets like jawar, bajra, and ragi are good alternatives because they are naturally gluten free. This is quite a prevalent disease nowadays. Even kids have it. Large intestine. After most of the nutrients are digested and absorbed in the small intestine, what happens to the undigested food? It moves into the large intestine. The large intestine is about 1.5 meters in length. It is shorter than the small intestine. That is why it is known as the large intestine. The reason is that it is wider than the small intestine. The large intestine absorbs water, and some salts from the undigested food, thus making the waste semi solid. The semi solid waste is called stool. The stool is then stored in the lower part of the large intestine called the rectum until the body is ready to get rid of it. Eating fiber rich food like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains helps the large intestine function properly by making the stool easier to pass. Finally, it is expelled through the anus by the process of egestion. This is how your body removes the waste it does not need, keeping you healthy. Isn't it fascinating how the digestive system works, absorbing nutrients from food and eliminating the waste? So fascinating facts. The large intestine contains various small living organisms such as bacteria that help in digestion. They help in keeping our digestive system healthy. They break down undigested food, especially fiber, and produce essential nutrients. Fiber like food and especially fermented foods like curd, buttermilk, shrikhand, kanji, pickles, gundruk, and poeta bhat are good for a healthy digestive system and overall well being. Science and society. The importance of digestion in maintaining good health has been recognized for centuries. The Charka Samhita, an ancient Ayurvedic text, highlights the role of easily digestible foods and the judicious use of spices like ginger, black pepper, and cumin to enhance digestion. Advances in science in the area of nutrition also emphasize eating meals at proper time, practicing mindful eating, and avoiding overeating as key factors in maintaining digestive health. 9.1.2. Do all animals digest food the same way as humans do? I have seen cows keep chewing the food even when they are not actively grazing or eating anything. Why? Grass eating animals such as cows and buffaloes partially chew the grass and swallow it into their stomachs. In the stomach, partial digestion of the food takes place. The partially digested food is brought back to the mouth for gradual chewing. This process is known as rumination, and these animals are called ruminants. Why? Because they are present with a stomach part, which is known as rumen. So the organism is known as ruminant. A cow spends about 8 hours a day just chewing the food. The thoroughly chewed food again passes down the alimentary canal for further digestion. Birds do not have teeth, but they have a chamber called a gizzard. Food is broken down by the contraction and relaxation of the walls of gizzard, often with the help of a grit or small stones that the birds swallow. This shows that animals exhibit variations in the structure and function of the alimentary canal to adapt to different ways of digesting different kinds of food. We have learned that the nutrients from digested food are carried to different parts of the body. Some of the nutrients help build and repair the body, while others, like sugars, are broken down inside the body to release energy. The process by which nutrients are converted into usable energy is called respiration. Let us now explore how this process occurs in animals. Respiration in animals. We learnt in grade 6 chapter Living Creatures, exploring their characteristics, that all living beings respire. Is the process of respiration the same for all animals? Let us first understand the process of respiration in humans. So, students of class 7, similarly in class 10th, you will read a chapter called Life Processes. And in that Life Processes chapter of class 10 science, you will study four organ systems. One will be, of course, digestive system, then another would be respiratory, then circulatory, and then excretory. So, this chapter is almost the initial chapter to class 10 science chapter. 9.2.1 Respiration in humans. You know that we breathe in, inhale, and we breathe out, exhale air continuously to obtain oxygen and release carbon dioxide. How is this oxygen used in the body? Are breathing and respiration different? Let us find out. How do we breathe? The process of inhaling and exhaling air is called breathing. It is difficult to live without food for a week, without water for a day or two, but without breathing, we cannot survive more than a few minutes. Why is that? All of us are alive because we breathe. Not just humans, plants and animals also breathe. But how do we breathe? Just as food follows a specific pathway in the digestive system, our body also has a specific system for breathing and respiration. This system is called as the respiratory system. The respiratory system consists of various parts as shown in figure 9.8. In this system, the exchange of gases follows a specific pathway. The pathway through which the air is inhaled and exhaled involves various parts of the respiratory system assisting in the process of breathing and respiration. The respiratory system begins with a pair of nasal openings called nostrils through which we inhale and exhale air. The inhaled air passes into a pair of small passages called the nasal passages. Have you noticed tiny hair inside your nostrils? These hair, along with the mucus, help trap the dirt from the air we breathe in. That is why we should breathe through the nose and not through the mouth. From the nasal passages, the air reaches our lungs through the windpipe. The windpipe forms two branches which enter the two lungs. In the lungs, these branches further divide into smaller and finer branches that end in small balloon like sacs called the alveoli. Our lungs are protected by the rib cage. Science and society. While a lot of the dust is filtered out from the inhaled air, often small infectious particles can get through the lungs. For example, during the COVID 19 pandemic, the SARS-CoV-2 virus affected the respiratory system, leading to breathing difficulties and often causing seriousness in the heart, in the lung problems. Let us understand the mechanism of breathing by taking a simple activity. So take a white transparent plastic bottle with a lid, remove its bottom. Make a hole in the lid of the bottle. Take a Y-shaped hollow tube as shown in figure 9.9. This one. Fix two deflated balloons to the forked end of the tube. Secure them with rubber bands to make them airtight. Insert the straight end of the tube tightly through the lid from the open base of the bottle and seal the lid with clay to make it airtight. To the open base of the bottle, attach a thin rubber sheet tightly using a large rubber band. Pull the rubber sheet from the center of the base towards and watch the balloons. Figure 9.9a. What do you observe? Now release the rubber sheet upwards and observe the balloons. What changes do you see in the balloons? When you pull the rubber sheet downwards, the balloons inflate. Conversely, when you release the rubber sheet upwards, the balloons deflate. When you breathe in, inhale, your chest expands as the ribs move up and outwards. The diaphragm, a dome shaped muscle below the lungs, move downwards during inhalation. This increases the space inside the chest and the air enters the lungs. When you breathe out or exhale, the ribs moves down and inward and the diaphragm moves upward, reducing the space and pushing air out of the lungs. Next page. What do the balloons in the model mentioned in figure 9.9 represent? What does the rubber sheet represent? Is this model the balloons represent the lungs and the rubber sheet represents the diaphragm? Science and society, breathing practices for a healthy life. Breathing exercises have been practiced across different cultures in India and worldwide for centuries. Pranayam is well known for improving respiratory health, mind relaxation, and the concentration. In Ladakh, people practice Tumo breathing, a technique that improves lung function and helps keep the body warm even in the cold weather. Similarly, deep breathing techniques are used to promote well being. Some traditions combine deep breathing with chanting using rhythmical breath control to enhance relaxation and mental clarity. Activity 9.3 to be demonstrated by the teacher. Take an equal amount of freshly prepared lime water in the two test tube A and B. In test tube A, pass the air using the syringe or pitchkari. This is the same that you inhale. In test tube B, repeatedly blow air although your mouth into blow air through your mouth into the lime water using a straw. Do you observe any changes in the color of the lime water? The lime water in test tube B turns milky or cloudy, but the lime water in test tube A doesn't. What does this indicate? Lime water turns milky when it reacts with the carbon dioxide. Therefore, this indicates that the exhaled air contains more carbon dioxide than that we inhale. How does the exchange of gases happen? Through the process of breathing, fresh air from the outside enters the lungs and fills the alveoli. The alveoli have thin walls surrounded by fine tubes containing blood. Blood carries carbon dioxide from the body to the alveoli where it is released into the air. At the same time, oxygen from the alveoli passes into the blood and is transported to all the parts of the body. Have you ever wondered how the food you eat gives you energy? The key is not only the food but also the oxygen we breathe. When we eat food, our body breaks it down into simpler substances like sugar, glucose, etc. Oxygen helps the breakdown of glucose to release energy. The process is called respiration, and the equation for the respiration is as follows. Glucose will be uniting with oxygen to form carbon dioxide, water, and energy. During breathing, we inhale air from our surroundings and exhale air having more carbon dioxide than the inhaled air. Note that not all the oxygen is used up. Some other animals can use a larger fraction of the oxygen during the respiration. This exchange of gases ensures that each segment of our body gets oxygen to produce energy and remove waste products. In simple words, breathing brings in oxygen and removes carbon dioxide, while respiration uses oxygen to break down food and release energy. This energy helps us in keeping us warm, able to run, play, and even think. Breathing is a physical process, while respiration is a chemical process that occurs inside the body. Both the processes are essential for our survival. Next page. Our body has a unique system for the transport of nutrients, oxygen, and other substances. This system is called the circulatory system. It includes the heart, blood, and blood vessels. The heart pumps blood through blood vessels, ensuring the transport of nutrients, oxygen, and other substances to all the parts of the body, while waste products are carried away. Science and society. Smoking is extremely harmful to health. It damages the lungs and increases the risk of serious diseases, including lung cancer and other respiratory illnesses. It leads to persistent coughing and frequent infections. In addition to harming the smoker, the smoking releases toxic chemicals into the air, putting others at risk. When non smokers inhale this polluted air, they experience passive smoking, which can be especially dangerous for children, pregnant women, and the elderly due to these risks. Avoiding smoking helps protect our basic health and the well being of those around us. 9.2.2. Do other animals breathe the same way as humans do? You have learned that different animals live in different habitats. You may have observed birds flying and fish swimming. How do they breathe? Animals such as birds, elements, lions, cows, goats, lizards, and snakes breathe through their lungs. Although all these animals have lungs, the structure of these lungs are quite different. Most aquatic animals, like fish, have specialized structures called gills. These are richly supplied with the blood vessels. The exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the blood and the gases dissolved in water takes place across the gills. Amphibians like frogs live both on land and water. They use different body parts for breathing at various stages of their life. For example, tadpoles they breathe towards with the help of gills. When adult frogs use lungs for breathing on land and skin for gaseous exchange when they stay in the water, the adaptation helped them survive both in water and on land, showing how animals have adapted over time to different environments. Earthworms use their moist skin for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. So, whenever there is a word of exchange with the help of skin, we can always say it is a cutaneous respiration. Cutaneous means always with the help of skin. Thus, different animals have different breathing mechanisms to suit their unique habitats. Apart from the digestive system, the respiratory system, and the circulatory system, there are other systems which work in coordination with each other in the body and perform different functions to sustain life. You will study about them in higher grades. In a nutshell, is a summary of this chapter, which you can go through at your own pace. Whenever you are hearing the audio of any chapter, I presume that you will be solving these questions. So, right now, if this chapter is done at your school, you can pause the video and attempt all the questions. So, moving ahead, these two questions at the top, this one and this one, question 9 and 10, are also the ones which you need to do. Other than this, we have where at the bottom we have exploratory projects. So in case you are interested in doing that, you can pause the video, have a fine reading, and you can also attempt. Because remember, wherever it goes risky, your elders should be there with you whenever you are doing it. So, with this, I am done with the reading of chapter 9, Life Processes in Animals. In case of any doubt in the chapter, you can reach out to me in the comments and I'll definitely help you out. If this video was helpful, share it with your friends. You can visit my channel to learn more pronunciations. It has more videos for class 9th and 10th as well. So stay connected. See you in next video. Thank you.